I just have a couple more questions on Delta, and then we're going to hop into some other parts of your life here. But I really want to keep digging in this because this has been wildly not just entertaining, but incredibly informative. One of the things I think people get a perception of who watch maybe a lot of movies or spy shows is that there's always these moments where like the world's going to blow up in 5 minutes, and then a red phone rings somewhere, the phone gets picked up, and then a top secret, ghost team dispatches and save the world. Does stuff like that ever actually occur where the calls are that close? Or is that just kind of a figment of Hollywood's imagination that we're just constantly picking up the phone to save the world?
Yeah, so I would say yes, yes and no, right? So if you're doing your job right, you're leaning forward on all these things. Like you're hearing the grumbling, and you're seeing the people the people move. It's like 9/11 when that happened, everyone was like, "What the hell?" Just like what happened with Israel. It's like, what the hell? How did we miss all of this planning? So usually you're seeing the planning and you're hearing the planning, and you're prepared, or you're starting to pull threads out of it before it even happens. That's the state of things. But it's also a haystack, right? And one of the things that I always get frustrated with, just like with 9/11, and just like what happened with Hamas coming out of Gaza and invading Israel, people are like, why didn't they see this? Why didn't Man, because you're dealing with thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of information, and some of them have more veracity than others. You have to triage what it is we're going to keep, what it is we're going to look at, so there's just so much information that you're constantly trying to stay on top of. So when they do get the jump on you, though, and something happens, then it does happen. Like when you're in the unit, you're on a rotation where you're on alert, and you need to be within an hour of the building. So you live that way. You're standing there watching your kid soccer, and you're constantly ready to be called in. And you're usually called in for some response of something we didn't expect, right? Somebody attacked something, somebody did something, a hostage was taken, that type of deal. So you do live that life, and you practice that life. So you practice it a lot more. Like I've been talking about that practice and rehearsal. So we were constantly getting called in and making sure that we could hit these timelines. So the standard, I think, is 4 hours. So from something occurring that we didn't expect and getting the phone call to being wheels up is 4 hours. And then practicing planning on the airplane and getting everything in motion that you need. So yeah, I can't think of it ever as dire as the movies. And yet you do live in a constant state of they could call me at any moment. Um, I think one of the things, I don't know why this just popped into my head. Um, but when that CH-47 went down, Chisel, I think it was called, no, Extortion, and all those Navy SEALs died. We were called in on an alert for that to support that organization. And it was a huge eye opener for us, because up until that event, you would be tasked with, hey, you're the casualty officer. So like, hey, if anyone gets hurt or anyone gets killed, you need to have your uniform ready. You need to understand, you're on call to go anywhere in the country to go talk to that family. Well, like that was one guy's job. And then when Extortion went down, and it's 30 different
Right.
people, that now became an additional duty of mine. I always had my uniform ready. I always had a bag packed just in case we went through some sort of mass casualty event where every single officer in the building now had to deploy and go talk to families. I think it's more like that than the ticking time bomb. It's like, hey, get to Washington and brief these guys. Hey, get to such and such in place and talk to this ambassador. That type of deal.